Good evening and welcome to a summary of the news. Saudi Arabia has arrested 431 people suspected of belonging to Daesh cells and thwarted attacks on mosques, security forces and a diplomatic mission. The announcement by the Interior Ministry came after a car bomb exploded at a checkpoint near the kingdom's highest security prison on Thursday, killing the driver and wounding 2 security officials in an attack claimed by Daesh. The statement said that most of the arrested were Saudi citizens, in addition to participants from other nationalities, and added that suicide operations timed with assassinations of security men were foiled. Alleged offences cited by the ministry ranged from smuggling explosives, surveying potential attack sites, providing transport and material support to bombers, and manufacturing suicide vests. The death toll of a suicide car bomb attack in the busy market town of Khan Bani Saad in Iraq has risen to at least 100, with many more bodies still missing. The suicide car bomber was carrying around 3 tons of explosives. The blast brought down several buildings, crushing to death people who were celebrating the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Debris and rubble from the blast was strewn across the road, and burnt-out cars were towed from the scene. Over the past 24 hours, the United States and allied forces bombarded Daesh in Iraq with 23 airstrikes, hitting the terrorists near Tel Afar and Ramadi. According to a statement by the U.S. military issued today, the strikes near Tel Afar destroyed a building as well as vehicles and damaged tactical units, staging areas, weapons caches, and a command and control center. 5 strikes near Ramadi destroyed Daesh improvised explosive devices, vehicles, and fighting positions, while also hitting tactical units. Separately, 8 airstrikes in Syria hit Daesh targets near Al-Hazaka. Over to Yemen, where local fighters and army forces wrested 2 military bases from Houthi forces overnight, building on a week of gains against the country's dominant faction. Yemeni forces, backed up by Saudi-led airstrikes, seized the Labouza army base in Lahj province, north of the port city, and the headquarters of the 117th Armored Division in eastern Shabwa province. The advances come a day after Yemen's government in exile declared the key southern city of Aden liberated in their biggest victory yet. And in a presidential decree, Yemen's exiled leader Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi named Aden's main thoroughfare after Saudi Arabia's King Salman as a gesture of gratitude. Elsewhere in Yemen, heavy clashes erupted on the streets of the city of Taiz between Saudi-backed fighters and Houthis. Iran's nuclear deal with world powers has been welcomed by its neighbors, said Iran's President Hassan Rouhani in a tweet. He wrote on his official English Twitter page that he spoke to the ruler of Qatar over the telephone today and that he expects the deal to improve relations with neighbors. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, meanwhile, and in a speech at a mosque in Tehran, said the nuclear deal with world powers did not signal any wider shift in Tehran's relationship with Washington or its policies in the Middle East. He said Iran does not negotiate with the United States on regional or international matters, but the nuclear negotiations were an exception to serve Tehran's interests. In Washington, meanwhile, U.S. President Barack Obama defended the deal with Iran and warned of dishonest arguments against what he described as a historic accord.
There's a reason this deal took so long to negotiate. Because we refused to accept a bad deal. We held out for a deal that met every one of our bottom lines, and we got it. Does this deal resolve all of the threats Iran poses to its neighbors in the world? No. Does it do more than anyone has done before to make sure Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon? Yes. And that was our top priority from the start. That's why it's in everyone's best interest to make sure this deal holds. Because without this deal, there would be no limits on Iran's nuclear program. There would be no monitoring, no inspections. The sanctions we rallied the world to impose would unravel. Iran could move closer to a nuclear weapon. Other countries in the region might race to do the same, and we'd risk another war in the most volatile region in the world. That's what would happen without this deal.
Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras has sought to rid his government of hardline leftists of his ruling Syriza party, who oppose a further austerity, reshuffling his cabinet. The reshuffle saw 9 changes overall, with the ousting of the energy minister and 2 deputy ministers by far the most important. The ceremony was presided over by the Greek president. Meanwhile, the Greek government ordered banks to open on Monday, 3 weeks after they were shut down to prevent the system collapsing under a flood of withdrawals as Tsipras looked to the start of new bailout talks next week. And finally, for a quick look at the weather, relatively hot summer conditions are expected to prevail across the kingdom, while in the southern part of the country it will be hot as temperatures slightly rise. Amman can expect a high of 33 degrees Celsius tomorrow, while in the Gulf of Aqaba temperatures will hit the low 40s. That's all for tonight. Have a pleasant evening.